Trump, which of course is what Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger know can never happen again in this country, right? And I worry about the third party candidate coming from either side, either.
But I wonder who would be like a third party candidate.
Liz Cheney.
You think Cheney would and
Sure.
try to take the Republican Party?
Right. I don't know. And you can try to split that. I don't know. All I know is I think Biden. All I know is that I hope we are in agreement. Great.
Actually, that's
Welcome to
true.
the green room, everybody.
Everybody, we're already like halfway into.
Well, because there's so much going on, listen, it's
Hold on 1 second.
so it was Memorial Day, of course,
It
and what a great show we had last week
Oh my
with
God, with
Jose Belen, who always touches our soul.
Oh, he's always great.
And you're in Florida too, so thanks, Jose, for that. And it's funny when you're in Florida too, because of course we don't have seasons down here as we do up north.
Oh, we have like hot and hotter.
It is. So when we have summer update up there,
Yeah.
we're not formally into summer yet because
But I can wear white things.
right, white shoes and all that. That's a whole northern thing, But there's so much going on, and
Oh my
politically too, which is kind of what we were discussing.
Today in Sarasota, Tiger Bay,
Let's start, sure.
Representative Kinzinger is going to be speaking. So
Right.
it's going to be, I think, an interesting.
It is. I was saying that, it's a Tiger Bay, and there are questions from Tiger Bay members, and we are.
Yeah.
And, I hope somebody asks it. Maybe I will. I fear a third party candidacy kicking it back to Trump somehow,
But you know what?
which is what we know Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney have told us can never happen again. And, as you see the news continuing to pour out of Mar-a-Lago, listen, he knew he couldn't take documents. He knew. Come on, let's be smart here. And there were people around him saying, no, sir, you can't do this.
Children, come on, even Ivanka's like, dude, like Ivanka knows a lot and she's trying to stop him.
So, and now with Governor DeSantis or DeSantis, you see that debate also?
Yeah.
So what are we going to start calling you? Can we go Rita easy? That would be too easy, And I want to be Dr. Jordan, for branding purposes, as it is.
But did you see him? I don't know. I was talking.
No, what's going on? It's crazy.
I don't know.
Christie and Pence are getting in.
I know.
Who
cares?
Who really cares?
Honestly,
but I'm really excited to see Adam Kinzinger, just getting back to topic, because
like,
I want to hear the message that he's going to deliver to his Republican, quite frankly, audience.
It's a heavy
it is.
I still think the Democrats that are there will give him a standing ovation.
Do you think there'll be any politicians there? Do you think we'll see a Fiona?
Oh yeah, you're going to see a lot today.
A Fiona, Joe Gruters, you think?
I think
really?
Chris Ziegler.
Interesting.
No, Chris Ziegler probably not, because Ziegler, even though he's the president of the Republican Party,
surprised at that, Ruta.
Because he's a Trump loyalist, and I think a lot of Sarasota are still Trump loyalists.
That's why I don't think any of the politicos will be there. Quite frankly, I don't think so.
They're too. Sarasota's a little bit too way far right. Oh, there might be a couple that show.
But it's going to be really interesting, and I think it's going to be covered by the press.
Oh, of course,
pretty heavily. And there were two tiers to it. There was a paid tier where you could actually meet Adam Kinzinger and get a picture of this thing, which we're not going to do. But listen, you or me, change parties. That'd be a great place to announce it.
I'm still thinking of changing.
I know. Listen, let's look at the lunacy of certain things. So I'll be honest with you. I really don't understand where Governor DeSantis is coming at with really going after the culture warism as his main plank in how he's coming out.
But
I mean, no, seriously, here's the lunacy of it. Don and I were talking prior to the green room, because we both heard it this morning. Hobby Lobby, or not Hobby Lobby, it should be Chick-fil-A. I don't want the pickle. Okay. And listen, every time I eat Chick-fil-A, which is rarely,
I boycott Chick-fil-A and I boycott.
And I'm not a Hobby Lobby guy either, because I really think they take a stand in secular America.
They do. And they're, come on, I don't know. They want to praise they're like so far right. Well, if they're so far right, they should be pro-capitalism and not shut out a whole population.
So they make a nice chicken sandwich. Popeyes does too, but they can hold the pickle. Pickles take over every sandwich.
They do.
It is. It is.
Even the burger.
It does. It does. It does. Even if you take it off,
you have that pickle juice.
But anyway, there's a far right protest now, okay? And they're going to call for a boycott of Chick-fil-A. You know why? Because they have a DEI policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. Hang on. That talks about their love and belief of God. Don, you heard the same story I did this morning. and their desire to unite and lift everybody up under
Wow.
those
And they don't
pretenses.
want
That sounds terrible.
That to me is the butting of the heads of this idiocy.
Wow.
Because to me, it's just, listen, I'm Jewish, everybody knows it. I'm not a heavily practicing Jew, but I was raised in a certain way of inclusion and believing in equity and believing in
For everybody.
everybody's
It's just
opportunity.
like,
And
I don't know, for me,
I don't
it's
know.
human rights.
every religion calls for that.
But why isn't it like, it's human rights?
It
I don't
is,
understand
it
why we
is.
make that division of human rights.
And then Tony had to take down gay pride.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay,
it's a
stop.
pride. Oh, we should have Jordan Letcher. We'll do that next.
No, it's
Thursday.
getting crazy.
Yeah, we'll
And
do
then
Jordan
you
Letcher.
had one parent of a student complain about the beautiful poem that was, written for Biden's inauguration, wanted that taken out.
Well, I was actually
I
starting.
mean, this is
to look-
really getting to be crazy.
No,
But my point is back to,
Like
and I
that
don't
would be
understand
crazy.
where DeSantis is coming at and believing the American people want books banned, want a 6-week abortion ban, want people not being able to be who they are and feel comfortable in who they are and love who they want to love. I just don't get it. I just don't see where that's a winning message to anybody. It's a divisive message. We want inclusionism.
But you know what the problem is, and this is kind of the frightening part. It brings out what's the true underlying theme of this country? Because if you have these laws passing state by state, I mean, it's falling.
That's
And
what's
it's like,
scary. We
it's-
don't have
it
blanket
is
now.
anymore. It's going
And
state
now
by
it's state
by
by
state.
state by
But you know
state.
what's going to happen? It's going to come down to almost being a civil war eventually. And I think it's going to divide. And I think it's going to be Republican and Democratic states. And I think they're going to fall. So like those people who are open-minded are going to move to like New York, Massachusetts, California.
Panama City, Panama.
But I think it's going to come to a civil war. And I think it's almost going to come down to like militias are going to occur. Militias are already here. But we have the Proud Boys. We have the right here in our backyard. I mean, we have militias.
My
crazy.
point with guns and gun violence and things of that nature, when are the police themselves going to stand up and say, hey, listen,
They're the ones that- they are. They're the ones. that-
who's running in towards the violence? Get these weapons
Oh
off
my
the
God, I was
streets.
thinking last night.
I don't understand it. I
It's
really,
insane.
really
It's a
don't.
movie,
I
but
don't
it was-
get it.
But it's really true life, especially like in LA and Chicago. There's a police force, like the SWAT team was out. And it was the SWAT versus the street gangsters. The street gangsters have arms that our military has. Our police officers do not carry those same weapons. I mean, it's insane
It's
what's out
crazy.
on the street. So, but somebody's allowing it. Do you know what I mean? Deep down, this is what pisses me off. The drug war, you know that the hands are all going like this. Like, I mean, Iran Contra, you saw like all these movies that are coming out where our government, I'm sorry, for all intents and purposes, is corrupt as the day is long. And I mean, come on, they were working with the Medellin's, they were working with every cartel. Our government was flying down there, supporting militia. It's like, come on. And you know, like we complain about it, but it's the shit. Sorry, everything starts at the topic.
I don't think we're FAA
No.
regulated. Or not
No, but
FAA.
I feel like the poop is just coming down off the top and really they can control it, but they don't want to. They choose not to. So whether it's the weapons, the war on drugs, you say anything, if they really truly wanted to stop it, they would, and they don't. So we can gripe.
Well, it's
and
pertinent to
complain,
the
but
topic and we'll get to
it's crazy.
travel.
Yeah,
No,
it is
we'll get to it, but it is very pertinent because the control of the borders and what they really want, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for.
So now travel, it's so difficult to begin with. I mean, international travel is insane. You have to, if you're going to an airport, give yourself 4 hours because you are not going through any passport control in any country now. And if before they used to make a connection, you just go straight through the airport. You now in every international airport have to go back out of the airport, go back through security, wait through those lines and try to catch your next plane. I'm like, why? We just walked through a security check guard. It's crazy. So I don't know. Travel is people are traveling more than ever because they're post-COVID, but it's difficult. And
It's a TSA pre-check, I mean,
but they waived that. Do you know that? Like I was flying in from because I have
internationally, I mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have TSA and I have TSA pre-check, but I also have
Have they clear?
I have the global pass, so I can go in between any airports. They waived it because the lines are so long, which usually you should be like right through and 2 people go through that line and you're out the door. I was in Dulles. the lady's like, we don't care what level you are, you have to go through security, you have to go through the same line. I'm like, this is insane. Like, it's a global entry, and it's like, come on, you pay money for that global entry, you get screened up the wazoo for global entry, and then they waive it. It's like insane. So like, it's very
Is
difficult.
there a heightened level of security risk at this point? Are they at orange or something, or
It's the whole world. Like, honestly, it's like, because now, like, when I flew through, I was in Frankfurt, I was in Paris, I was in Greece, and I was in Turkey, 4 countries, all of them in the United States. So all of them coming and going, the security levels are insane. So I don't know if maybe there is some heightened, but there's no chatter of like any heightened.
No, there's really not. Listen, I'm in a fantastic stage of life, and I want to back up a little bit. I want to credit my excellent staff, my office, everybody here, and my part-time docs. Listen, I'm able to take some trips. A year ago at this time, I was in Peru, Machu Picchu, and I love Facebook for not much. But one great thing, not much, but one thing I do like is when they throw up the anniversary pics and all that. It reminded me of the green room anniversary, things like that. But we're coming up on our Patty and I are, it's gonna be awesome. We're going on a cruise out of Barcelona. So we're flying, I think it's Philly to Barcelona or something. But once we get on the cruise ship, they take your passports. And then as you kind of, navigate through the various ports.
Ports, I think, are easier than
they are. So they don't require the same. They kind of,
it's better than
screen you.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm kind of comfortable being on a cruise ship. It's scary in America these days, if you think about it. There's been a lot of talk about it. Listen, the NAACP declared a travel ban on Florida for African Americans and for gay trans. It sounds
absurd. It sounds
2023,
but it sounds absurd.
And we had the shooting in Hollywood. We had the shooting in Hollywood Beach over the holiday. But it was interesting. Don, did you see this? Because I didn't see it necessarily. Nobody died in that shooting, and I suspect it's because it was a handgun related shootout, because I think that's the big difference, and we always talk about it, because the assault weapons
can hit anything,
right?
Wave like this, you're going to hit something
for sure.
In a hand,
and the mass and volume of the bullet, this and that.
You just don't have
right. But my point is, because my son said to me, I was just in Houston, and he's kind of funny as it is. And he goes, well, Dan, aren't you concerned about going to Greece and, this and that? I said, no, Josh, I'll be honest with you. I'm really not.
Not at all.
Actually, I think there's a crazier environment here.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can travel anywhere in Europe, and it's not as crazy as walking down the streets of New York or LA.
So do you see troops with guns necessarily? No.
Nowhere.
Right.
No.
Right.
Actually, no.
So I have no fear, of the travel law.
Turkey, right. The only place you have it is in Istanbul in the airport.
Right.
But that's just regular security guards. But they're not
traveling, everybody. Let's just talk about travel. And it's so easy, Don. When I sent you the topic yesterday, I said, Ruta, this could be a very short show because there's really just one answer.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I just have to be like Nancy Reagan here,
say no, kids.
and just say no. And seriously, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, interestingly enough, our first destination, Barcelona, does have cannabis. They have cannabis clubs.
They do. They have cannabis.
We actually have patients in our practice that are members of cannabis clubs in Barcelona.
So Nordine last year got arrested.
Listen,
in Barcelona.
Right.
Because his friend had a joint on him. He went to take a cab ride, and the cop was there, and the kid lit up, and they arrested Nordine, who was right beside him. And Nordine's like, dude, I don't have anything. I don't smoke anything. So he got in a Spanish jail for like 8 hours, where I was like, oh,
whatever the friend who's actually there
was. Him on the wrist. So he had to spend the night, and the next day they gave him a slap on the wrist. They said, please don't do it again. We know it's a high tourist area, blah, blah, blah. And they just said, please don't. But they just they don't give up. They gave him a fine of like $50.
But I would suspect that Istanbul would be entirely opposite, right? I mean, yes, no, okay, got it. So the point is there will be the availability of pretty much cannabis everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's just like it's again like the street markets and stuff in certain areas. But Barcelona is a little bit more open. The tourist areas, believe it or not, they're a lot more open. So even in Turkey, they have what they're called the shisha bars. So they have the hookah lounges, shisha bars. It's, you smell things in the air, so you know what's there. So
Sure.
like you can get it if you want it.
I think that it would, you know, I don't know. I think the risk
The risk is too
far,
great. I
right.
would not do it.
And
It
listen,
would be
everybody,
great. I'm a traveler.
we talk about tolerance breaks and the benefit of tolerance breaks to the
Yeah.
medical cannabis patient. I do. It's one of my jokes on the Berry Bingo shirt, you know. No, I don't think I made the shirt, but it is a joke I make. Listen, a great way to take a tolerance break is to schedule that cruise. You know, cruises, I mean, in general, actually Carnival came out with an enhanced drug policy in advance of spring break. We could have pulled it up. It was kind of a February article, Don, but with dogs at ports and this and that. Yeah, because those Carnival's kind of, you know, the part you really should not smoke a joint on a cruise ship, everybody. It just, you know, it smells. There's cameras everywhere. You know, this we could go all the way back to AI and all that. You know, I mean, to me, I think the government pretty much knows pretty much what all of us do.
Yeah.
If they want to.
Oh, they do. If they want to,
I've kind of accepted that for a number of years.
What we see, what we eat, what we.
I mean, that doesn't mean that I try not to follow the rules and do things right. Right?
You know everything.
That's right. So if you think you're going to go on a cruise ship and go on the back of the ship and light up a joint somehow because the wind's blowing back that way, well, there's a camera up there, and there's some security guy saying, another one.
Another one, yeah.
And that guy's got to be in his 70s or something, you know. So listen,
and I never do it in a foreign country because the rules there,
the rules are different.
And you don't want to go in a foreign jail because then you're going to be stuck there for a while.
But you know, this is something that we fight for as we go forward to the extent of progress, recognition, acceptance. People with a medical cannabis card, for example, absolutely should be able to wear a patch anywhere, should be able to take an edible or a tincture, right, anywhere. But we're not there yet, everybody. And even here in the States. So it's snowbird, hang on, snowbird season, of course. So we have a lot of our patients that go north and they drive north and they want to know if they could take their products with them. And of course, the answer is no, you can't. It's not allowed. We haven't gotten there yet for the federal government. It's so tough to give those type of answers. It's like giving the answer to a paramedic or something. What do I do about the random drug test that I may have to go through, even though I'm the best damn paramedic on the squad? When I have to tell him, turn off the camera down. Listen, to have a dry urine in your locker is some degree of protection because your substance is cannabis and not Ativan or alcohol. It's a bad answer in 2023. And that's why I want to give a shout out to Gene Jones conference coming up this week. A very interesting conference. We can go that way too. So anyway, so that's the travel segment, everybody. Use common sense. Don't travel abroad with cannabis. It makes no sense.
Try not to buy it on the street because it might be a plant. So just be careful. You know.
Well, for sure. You know.
Don't want to get in trouble.
Right. Oh.
Is there a way to prepare for extended tolerance breaks?
So you know what, Don, it's interesting too, because one of the so Don was asking if you can really get ready for a tolerance break or what else can you do. So in this interesting hemp world, of course, there's all kinds of CBD products. There are CBD vape products, theoretically, if you can find some that are good and pure and tested, you know.
CBD, I have to say, is all over Europe.
It is.
They had it in there's shops everywhere for CBD.
For sure.
Even in Europe, they're allowing it.
So, you know, CBD can give you something similar, something that tastes similar, something to do with your hands, you know, so to speak. People talk about stopping smoking, you know. But you know, listen, I mean, edibles and patches and things like that, you know, to me, as I said, once again, just say no, but you know, I don't think anybody's looking in your, you know what I like is the fruits and veggies. What's that? Balance of nature. Something it's all over the place. And then, you know, I mean, who hasn't seen the commercial?
Yeah, what is that?
Fruits, veggies. So anybody's looking in the balance of nature bottle and seeing what kind of gummies you have in there. And patches are patches, you know. So I don't know, Don, I guess those are the answers. I think you can rely on other things that are not products that may necessarily raise the hairs of anybody, and CBD and other likewise, you know, minor, you know, cannabinoids that aren't THC, you know, are legal. But anyway, listen, I want to give a shout out to Gene Jones and the conference coming up this weekend in Orlando. I'm speaking on Sunday. And listen, Jeff Block did a great job. He got 10.5 or so hours of CME for this conference, believe it or not, through
Wow.
Miami-Dade Medical
Wow,
Association,
very
which is
good.
great.
That's a great push. Good.
And it's going to be a high level, and every pun intended, no conference. Seriously, there's going to be some attendees that are really interesting.
Yeah, Woody, very well.
Yeah, well, no, including, two representatives from Veriheal, who's a company that's pretty well known to
Break
have
all
been
the
suspended
rules.
by the state.
And I
Let-
played the.
And listen, I'll be interested to meet them and ask them what their plans are as they go forward in Florida.
Yeah.
I have to assume they're there to recruit docs,
Yeah.
I don't think they're there to apologize to Dr. Berry,
No, are you kidding?
necessarily,
Docs.
or anybody, it's gonna be
For the
interesting.
patients that they
But,
screwed.
but,
so,
but also they're the OMU themselves.
Yeah,
We're gonna be
absolutely.
represented. They're presenting actually in a
Pretty
forum.
interesting, yeah.
Listen, we have 8 questions that we want to ask
That's
them.
good.
And all about procedure and where we're going and this and
Good.
that. And listen, maybe it's a foot in the door to start with the legitimate conversation. I
think
gotta
it's
be honest with you. One of
needed.
the things that offends me about Florida, and I guess there's more than one. No, seriously, when it comes to medical cannabis world, listen, there are many doctors in the state that have legitimately done this now for
Right,
6 years, 7 years, the right way. Gone to conferences, learned what we could from all around the country about how to do this with honor and integrity. We've seen the mistakes. God, I hope somebody from the state is watching. We've seen the mistakes, that have been made, and Don, mark this. We've seen the mistakes that have been made in other states, and we'd really like to try to avoid them as we go forward towards whatever legal adult use looks like here in Florida. How it looks, when it happens, we don't know those details. But what we do know is that there's better ways to do it.
Stuff. This is what amazes
And we can
me about
protect
it.
medical, which is quality,
yeah.
testing, labeling,
Education for patients, which is
education,
so needed for patients.
price, keeping our taxes at zero.
Yeah.
These are all things. I mean, one thing I tell everybody,
Story.
awesome. One thing that I tell everybody is that they're going to tax the heck out of legal adult use. And they're going to regulate the amounts of product also. So we got to work
there's some
as we go
things
forward.
down the pike. So I have a friend who is a grower in California. He owns, I think 680 acres that he grows on. The state of California now is starting to control the growth. And now they're starting to say they don't want independent growers. So if you're not part of a big consortium, what they did is what they're doing is they're restricting the land. And what they're saying now to the individual growers is you cannot utilize the water that's on your property to water the plants. So they have creeks, they have rivers going through,
Sure.
and the government now has said you can no longer use that water, and they're drying up their crops.
Yeah,
This is insanity. So things coming down the pike, even in California, are getting wacky.
I tell everybody, don't
Wacky.
wish for what you really don't
Don't
want.
want.
And listen, right now we have what we have. We know what we have. There's going to be 22 new dispensary organizations. We think we'll see what happens with the
I'm
Pickford
telling you
case.
right now.
Just an update on that, everybody. Telehealth still hanging in limbo. Excuse me, not yet sent to the governor's desk. So there is a process. Everybody has to remember that the one bill wasn't signed until June 23rd that allowed for, whole flower and got rid of the 90 days. So there's precedent to it. So it's not like the clock is ticking, but we're anxiously awaiting. Governor DeSantis has a lot on his plate right now. And it just remains to be seen which way the wind is blowing, to the extent of whether or not he's going to allow for the Pickford case fixed, which is the black farmer case.
But the
and we'll see.
The industry as a whole, though, like
They're not healthy.
They're not healthy.
It's
right
not a healthy industry.
It's not right now. It's but you know what? It's growing stages of any industry. So you have it where it's rising. It's got to take a tank down, then it'll come back up. But according to, like I said, my friends in California, who are independent growers for pretty large, and they're just not part of the growing consortiums like that they want and the big boys to play. They're squeezing all the little ones out. Like
that's a huge debate here in Florida.
It's a debate
because of the vertical nature of how we were set
But
up.
you're talking California, which was
I got it.
They're
I
now
know.
starting to play a different game. So it's getting really kind of crazy.
It's always about money.
It is. It's always about money.
That's the one thing that always is the
Yeah.
universal. I shake my head at New York, for example. which exists in a legal adult use state, but doesn't have a dispensary system that's set up to sell legal adult use product yet, because they can't figure out how to split up the money. And, you know, that's a liberal northern state, you know, and they can't, so it can happen everywhere and anywhere.
Look at like Trulieve. I mean, like we talked yesterday, their stock is plummeting. They're having issues.
It is. The banking issues are horrible. And listen, there is competition and, you know, listen,
No, industry is changing. It is. It's a growing.
what you said about 5 minutes ago is the key to continue to educate everybody as to the, quite frankly, intricacies of the cannabis world, you know, these days. I was on a veterans panel last week and we talked all about all the different cannabinoids. There's so much confusion between what's out there and when you see THC signs and Delta 8 signs out in front of smoke shops and free CBD samples, you know, this, that, whatever. I mean, patients come in with questions every day. We've had to add another entire 5 minutes or whatever the number may be. It doesn't matter. An entire another section about what you're seeing when you're driving down 41
say that
main road here in Florida.
But I actually have to make a comment too. So when you, I think, were on your cruise for Patty's birthday, we had a dance class like here. So we do dance once a week, and we actually had a bunch of seniors come in to do a dance here.
Oh,
and
awesome.
Afterwards they stayed because they were interested in medical marijuana. So all of these people are at like minimum age is 70, probably 70 through like 85, 86. And they wanted to learn about medical marijuana.
We scratched the surface yet.
Not even close.
Not even close.
The women said, so Donna and Dr. Shreve actually gave them a lecture to sign them up, you know, and get them as patients, which was kind of cool. But one of the ladies, she said, well, she goes, why do I have to pay this amount to the state and this? She goes, I can get CBD. There's signs everywhere. And so they have no concept of what the difference is. She goes, well, isn't it the same product? And we're like, no. So we went over it. But these are like, a lot of people don't know. And the problem is when
the vast majority
don't. And so like this little group, afterwards, I actually saw them again this Tuesday. And one of the women, she's like, I'm going to make an appointment to come in because I want to learn the right way of what I need to take for stuff. And so another guy did too. But it's like, there's still a huge misconception. And like, these are people in their 70s and 80s who want to try something holistic, and they're going to a gas station to get it, which is not a good idea.
No, well, that's the scariest of thoughts. But the bottom line is absolutely, we have not even scratched the surface. I would say there's two huge things that have to happen until we really see the huge surge of desire to want to try cannabis. One is federal descheduling, you know, and legalization. I mean, you know, people are always going to hang their hat on that, of course. And the second thing is further research and further discoveries. And that's why I always look forward to weekends like this coming weekend where doctors get together and actually discuss the research topics. Listen, there's going to be a former Florida Surgeon General who's going to be in the audience, a couple other very interesting people, Detroit Tigers trainer coming down.
It's interesting.
Jeff Koenig's doing a sports medicine segment.
Because I saw
right.
I'm like, wow, somebody from
So it's going to be great. And listen, once a year, it's great for the doctors in Florida. And listen, you know, patients that are watching and everything, you know, go to a doctor who's involved, you know, with what's going on in the state. You can ask your doctor, you know.
Or something. I think they do live broadcasts, don't they?
Yeah.
That can't go up
Charles. Yeah. Oh, actually, this one has a virtual component to it, you know. Yeah, well, it's kind of doctor oriented, not necessarily patient oriented. But the point is that, you know, message to patients, ask your doctor if they're involved. Ask your doctor if they go to meetings, okay, or what they're doing to really further, you know, your experience as a patient here in Florida. It matters. It really does
matter. Because yesterday we had a person in here who is a former employee of a dispensary. And she said to us, one thing that was a comment of hers, which was very interesting. She goes, I knew who the doctor was of every patient by how the orders were given. And she goes, you can tell, you know, right away who the doctor is, because she said some of them write it very differently. And she said, so whether it's like a 1-to-1 or whatever, but she goes, you know exactly the doctor. You're like, okay, this doctor wrote that. This doctor said this to this patient. This doctor said this, like all the orders.
And the tenders know by the education of the patient from whence they're coming out.
And that is also a big comment that she made. So she said, she goes, I have to tell you, she said, because she said some of their staff isn't educated themselves on cannabis, and that's a whole other topic of perhaps doing a introductory.
Another entire
exam,
green room.
Another green room. And I think we need to do it, like judging from what she said, really, we need to let that go and we can sell it. Is to educate. And because she said the patients that came from certain practices, including ours, the patients already came with like a list of what they kind of wanted and needed versus some of them come in blind with no education, with not knowing anything coming from a doctor's office. And that speaks volumes. And she said, she goes, we knew exactly what patient came from where.
Yeah, and that's why I look
And
forward to
that's
meetings like this weekend, because there's doctors coming that I don't know that, own clinics around the state and and it's great. I can't wait to meet them. And I really want to hear, the attitudes that they're carrying forward,
Yeah, because
to the extent of what they're doing in their offices,
a group of you that really carried the torch. You really do. And for advocacy and for progression of, the plant and pushing medical marijuana in Florida, like, I think that has to be, I think it's a great opportunity for you to meet those doctors that don't. And for the patients listening, really make sure when you, like, we have patients and non-patients and people that are listening, even out of state, like, just make sure if you go for medical, just get it.
Well, my point is, I don't think
Always.
you can't be afraid of calling people out for not doing what we need to be doing
Yeah,
as we
that
continue
too.
to be tip of the spear
It's still
in
true.
healthcare right now. And that's
We're just-
that's the
it's
nature of my
infancy
talk
right
on
now.
Sunday.
It is. It's
Is the moral
infancy.
imperative in 2023. It's
Yeah.
not 1981. We know what kills
No.
people. We know what doesn't kill people.
We do.
Cannabis is a substance that needs to be respected
Respected, yeah.
for what it can do, both to the positive and to the negative as well. You
That's
can't leave out
everything.
negative. And that's really the nature of any good
That's any good
conference
conference.
with balance,
Yeah, it should
and
be
especially
balanced.
critical now, with the entire
And
Delta 8 and other,
it's knowledge, and
it needs to be
it's-
presented appropriately to doctors, because
does.
doctors coming in typically don't know either.
They don't know either.
So-
I have a friend who does cannabis down south, like from here, and same thing. Like, I think a lot of times he watches our show. So hi. No, to gain some knowledge. And sometimes he asks questions afterwards. He's like, what happened with this? Like, cause some people just
For
don't
sure.
know. They're not on
Yep.
top. So at least they watch the green room to get some of their information. So
Right.
that's great.
So listen, we're going to keep an eye on the telehealth bill. Hemp bill also hasn't been sent to the governor's desk, so we'll see what goes on with that.
We'll probably maybe we can call Jordan Letchert in.
Sure.
It's Pride Month, so I think
Awesome.
let's call him, and he's had a lot of.
We'll have an update on Adam
Yeah,
Kinzinger's talk today.
I'm gonna film some of it, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneak my camera and film. I'm sure they're gonna say don't do it, but I will.
See you next week.